4,300 meters longer than the long race for women. So more work for this field of 117 preparing for the men's long race here in Lausanne, Switzerland. Last year, of course, the historic double. Kenenisa Bekele became the first to win both the long and short course championships. He did that in Dublin, Ireland. He was only 19 years of age at the time. And this is a remarkable achievement for a man who really only took up running back in 1997.
Well, it's truly remarkable. The year before that, he won the junior race and was second in the short race. And then last year, he came up with sort of the Grand Prix sort of miracle sort of situation by winning both events against the world's best distance runners. And he was still only 19 years of age. This year, he's 20.
Well, he looks so efficient in his running style. Everything seems so effortless for Bekele.
Well, he's truly quite a remarkable person. His mentor in Ethiopia is Haile Gebre-egziabher, who is renowned as the world's greatest distance runner at Olympic and world records. And Haile Gebre-egziabher is claiming this is going to be the #1 runner of the future in all types of races on the track and cross country all over the place. And last year's events make us think that, but last year he had a difficult time. He had Achilles problems, lost the whole track season, and never appeared in the Grand Prix circuit in Europe.
And he is attempting another double in Switzerland, trying to duplicate his performance of a year ago. He's wearing number 353, smaller in stature than many of the other competitors in this race, but very early in the short course race, he surges for the lead, currently running in second place.
You can see Kenya using their typical team tactics, going out there very, very hard. We can see again this situation where Kenya's out there fast, bringing their full team up there, but then Ethiopia sitting there lurking as they usually do.
And now we move ahead just under 6 minutes into the race. 353, the green vest of the Ethiopian Kenenisa Bekele, among a cluster of red-vested Kenyans running as a team. But the Ethiopian appears poised and ready to break away from this pack.
Well, you can see that he's slightly shorter in stature than the Kenyans and obviously much more muscular. I mean, he doesn't look exactly like the typical long-distance runner who's sort of lithe and thin. He seems more muscular, more rapid-moving. He's quite an unusual look when you compare him to those Kenyans.
And he also seems to have a very high leg movement. His heel almost seems to come right up and kick him himself in the buttocks as he runs these cross-country races.
Well, you look at 243 Benjamin Limo, who's running right beside Kenenisa right now, and you can see his low carriage of his heels. But more importantly, Benjamin Limo is the #1 ranked runner in the world at 3K and 5K. Truly one of the best distance runners ever, and this young runner is right there beside him. 238 John Kibowen also is ranked very well. He's run a 347 mile. These are not slow people out there. They're very rapid, fast people, and you can see how they're moving away from the main pack.
And now it appears as though Kenenisa Bekele may be in some difficulty as he is in third place, but he does have a very strong finishing kick. And we saw evidence of that last year when he was able to complete that very unique double as he broke away about 400 meters from the finish line to win quite comfortably. And here he is running in third place, but he does have some work ahead of him.
He surely does, because Kibowen, who is leading the race at this point, followed by Limo, are really the very best distance runners in the world. Here we can see Kenenisa Bekele moving up into second. It is getting close. He's starting to make a move here, although the Kenyans are responding.
Well, he started to make a move, and he has moved up into second place. And John Kibowen is the leader, and Bekele has him clearly in his sights. You see from a back shot the very high ankle action of his heel coming up high as he is in pursuit of Kibowen. Well, last year, as the result of his double victory in the World Cross Country Championship, winning both the short course and long course titles, he picked up $60,000 US, an enormous sum in his native Ethiopia, but it really didn't change his lifestyle. And here he goes. He's made his move. He has gone past Kibowen, and Bekele has surged to the front and is pulling away from the two Kenyans. He has a third straight World Cross Country title in his sights, receiving applause from the spectators lining the course as he sprints towards the finish line. He glances back, and with every stride, he is pulling away from Kibowen and Limo, the two Kenyans in pursuit. He glances back again. It seems to be an almost effortless performance for this outstanding World Cross Country champion, and he hits the finish line with a second consecutive short course title, rather roughly manhandled at the finish line by one of those who are there allegedly to help those crossing the line. He didn't seem to be tired at all, though, as the result of his run.
He just looks absolutely amazing. When you see when he turns it on, he just runs away from those runners who are ranked #1 in the world in the distance races on the track.
Bekele with a time of 11:01, with Kibowen and Limo finishing in second and third positions, 3 and 5 seconds behind, respectively. So now day 2 of the cross-country championships in Lausanne, Switzerland, and now it's the men's long race, and the task at hand for Bekele to repeat his performance of a year ago in Ireland. And of course, he'll be attracting a lot of attention from other runners in the field, particularly those from Kenya. A crowd of about 8,000 watching this event, 117 lining up for the start of the men's long course race, 12,300 meters. And as we pointed out earlier, in the women's event, 400 meters from the start to the first turn. So all the runners, those in contention for the title, will be trying to get themselves into a good starting position. And it's just about 24 hours since Kenenisa Bekele claimed the short course championship. How difficult is this on the system to run a 4,000-meter race followed by a race of over 12,000 meters in that short a space of time?
Well, I can tell you there are not any Kenyan runners doing that, but there are several Ethiopian runners who are actually trying to double day. There's the Canadian team right there, led by Simon Baru and Eric Gillis. But the 24 hours is really quite a short recovery, and obviously he's going to have felt some effect from that.
Of the cross-country championships in Lausanne, Switzerland, and now it's the men's long race, and the task at hand for Bekele to repeat his performance of a year ago in Ireland. And of course, he'll be attracting a lot of attention from other runners in the field, particularly those from Kenya. A crowd of about 8,000 watching this event, 117 lining up for the start of the men's long course race, 12,300 meters. And as we pointed out earlier, in the women's event, 400 meters from the start to the first turn. So all the runners, those in contention for the title, will be trying to get themselves into a good starting position. And it's just about 24 hours since Kenenisa Bekele claimed the short course championship. How difficult is this on the system to run a 4,000-meter race followed by a race of over 12,000 meters in that short a space of time?
Well, I can tell you there are not any Kenyan runners doing that, but there are several Ethiopian runners who are actually trying to double day. There's the Canadian team right there, led by Simon Baru and Eric Gillis. But the 24 hours is really quite a short recovery, and obviously he's going to have felt some effect from that.
At the start line, some of the runners a little anxious to get themselves into a good position, and this field is off in a 12,300-meter race. They are running at the National Equestrian Center, and the footing can sometimes be a little difficult at some positions in the race. have to be just a little careful with the turf because of the horses that have been performing on this surface, chewing things up just a little, but it isn't impairing the runners at all, apparently, as the Kenyans look like they're going to sacrifice one of their own as a pacemaker for teammates in this men's long race.
Yeah, that's Abraham Chirono of Kenya out there early, and I'm certain that he's been selected as the pacemaker for the Kenyans, taking it out very rapidly, trying to wear down Kenenisa Bekele, who's run yesterday, as we just said, 24 hours ago, and so they're trying to make it hard work for him.
Well, the weather conditions much warmer than they have encountered many times in the past in world cross-country competition. But the man that everyone is focused on is wearing bib number 353 from Ethiopia. He had the first ever double championship last year, winning the short course and long course titles in Ireland. And he already has this year's short course championship, and now is attempting to repeat his performance of a year ago.
We can see here Sammy Kipketer of Kenya taking the lead. He was ranked #1 in the world last year at 10K at 26:49, and second in the world at the 5K at 12:56. The Kenyans are so deep. Every one of their runners is highly accomplished, and we can see after the early leading by Chirono, now we see Kipketer coming in there to take the front.
And of course, the Kenyans have dominated over the years in the team competition, 17 consecutive team titles.
That's right, since 1986, isn't it? That they have won every team title since that time.
1986 was the same year that John Ngugi won his first individual championship. That would be the first of 4 in a row for John Ngugi. And then another outstanding Kenyan cross-country runner, Paul Turgat, who dominated from 1995 through 1999, winning 5 in a row.
You can see that red Kenyan jersey taking control up there with Ethiopia again. It's going to be another battle of Eastern Africa.
In his last championship in 1999, Paul Turgat was the winner, with Patrick Ivuti of Kenya finishing in second place. And for a time, it looked as though Ivuti was going to put an end to Turgat's string of 5 consecutive wins. It was a very close finish between Ivuti and Turgat, and Ivuti is wearing bib number 378, and he is up with this leading group of Kenyans just to the right of the picture, back in about 5th position at the moment.
Chirono is still leading after taking it from the very start. He and Kipketer are the first 2 out there.
I mentioned Paul Turgat, 5 individual championships, 8 team medals, and he was the dominant cross-country runner for the Kenyans for almost a decade.
Bekele is taking second place very comfortably, sitting on the shoulder of our early leader.
In the history of the World Championships, Kenya and Ethiopia have been the most successful nations, winning 75 of the 114 available team titles. And it looks as though it'll be a repeat this year, either Kenya or Ethiopia claiming yet another team title. But the Kenyans are trying to keep their string intact. They've won 17 in a row, and they have 4 people up there among this leading group, although at the moment it's the man who is attempting to repeat as the long course champion, in addition to winning his short course title, Kenenisa Bekele, wearing 353.
Gebremariam is the taller of the 2 Ethiopians that are now leading the race. This is quite an unusual situation. You see how many Kenyan jerseys behind them, but we see 3 Ethiopia people right up there at the front. But there's Gebremariam seemingly almost going into the lead now. This young man is only 19 years of age and won the World Junior Cross Country last year.
So 2 champions at the junior level and at the senior level leading the way, representing Ethiopia in this 31st edition of the World Cross Country Championships. A few clouds rolling in now, and the temperatures remaining at around the 20-degree mark. Again, consistency between laps 1 and 2, 5:03 and 5 minutes. The split times for these leading athletes in this men's long course race. 12,300 meters the distance. And the Kenyans have done some juggling on the front end, as we have seen so often in distance races in the past, Doug. Now it is Ivuti who is leading the way, but he is a definite challenger for this long course title.
Well, he seems to be taking it very hard out there, and one of the very common tactics in distance running is to put these surges in where there's a very rapid pace for probably 20 to 30 seconds, trying to shake people off, break them up, get them into difficulty, but the Ethiopians are still there. And you can see he's backing off on the pace now and taking it a tiny bit easier. Ivuti is sitting back, and there's Sammy Kipketer, 379. The two of them seem to be trying to control the pace here and do some damage to the Ethiopians.
Bekele seems to be so economical in his running style. There doesn't seem to be any excessive effort on his part.
No, it certainly isn't, and he does stand out as a body type that looks different than almost every one of the other runners. Particularly his countryman, Gebremariam, is quite tall relative to him, and he stands even above the Kenyans.
So a group of half a dozen leading the way, and the winner is almost certainly to come from this group as Kenya tries for an 18th consecutive team title. And the Ethiopians are trying to end that reign, but the Kenyans looking very strong at this point, as they have 4 runners in this leading group of 6.
There's Patrick Ivuti, 378, still leading over Sammy Kipketer, 379. And in 4th place, we see 382, Richard Limo. He's ranked number 3 in the world at 10K at 26.50. Amazing credentials for these lead runners.
Glancing back, number 353, Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia, running along quite comfortably in 2nd place. He keeps glancing back and probably wondering if there's going to be a bit of a surge from another of the Kenyan runners. The injection of pace on the part of the Kenyans almost appears an attempt to try and throw him off his race.
It certainly is, and particularly when they know that he's attempting this very, very serious double. They're trying to test him to see whether he can stand the fast tempos that they're trying to put in, trying to wear him down, trying to discourage him mentally to give in. But he doesn't seem to be giving in. He's sticking there right in 2nd place.
And Gebremariam is running in 3rd place, so he has a teammate right in behind. He keeps glancing back, and I'm sure just trying to see what was happening behind. He knows what's taking place in front of him, and now it appears as though he has decided to go to the lead himself, and Gebremariam seems to indicate that he wants to move with his teammates. So it is now the 2 Ethiopians who are leading the way. Patrick Ivuti dropping back into 3rd place. But it is the defending champion who is leading the way. We'll be back with the finish after this. Back to Lausanne, Switzerland, as we continue our coverage of the World Cross Country Championships, the final lap of this men's long race. I'm Don Whitman along with Doug Clement. And attempting to repeat his historic double of a year ago, Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia, and it appears he is heading for yet another championship. He broke away just before they moved into this final lap, Doug, and he appears to be, as they say, putting the pedal to the metal and is increasing his lead over the rest of the field with every stride.
Well, it's shocking to see the amount of room that he's moved ahead of 2nd and 3rd place. I mean, he is on his own now. He is clearly going for that historic double again in his unprecedented 2nd year.
Runners have been lapped by the leader and those in pursuit of him, Ivuti of Kenya and his teammate Gebremariam. You see number 339 now being lapped, and you see the difference in the arm action, the head movement of the leader, and particularly the runner who was lapped. It looks as though he's just out for a casual stroll.
Well, you can see here he's actually picking the pace up. That last lap was 4:53, considerably quicker than any other lap. And you can see he's still running within his aerobic power. He is not getting into anaerobic activity where he's running without oxygen. And you can see that lap runner suffering, if you will, from too much effort, and he's running into anaerobic activity, and his whole rhythm is destroyed. Whereas the leader looks effortless. He looks like he's on a stroll, as you say, for a Sunday afternoon, but it's for a lot more than just a stroll. There's probably another $34,000 US plus the team money waiting on the end of this race for him.
Bekele now has a fairly sizable gap over Ivuti of Kenya and teammate Gebremariam. The fans applauding his efforts. The short course title yesterday over a distance of 4,000 meters, and running away to a second consecutive double as he has this long course championship over a distance of 12,300 meters in his sights. And I think the other runners have pretty much resigned themselves to a battle strictly for second and third place.
It surely is, and that comes down to Gebremariam versus Ivuti of Kenya. Certainly this tradition of East Africa is just amazing, and particularly when you look at the Kenyan team. Over 75% of their medal performances in the last 2 decades have come from one section of Kenya where the Kalenjin live. 3 million people in an area the size of Wales have produced most of the world's distance medals. And you know, there's lots of people, scientists and otherwise, trying to figure out why East Africa and why Kenya and Ethiopia are so amazing at this. No one can quite figure it out.
Well, other distance runners in the world will have a task at hand trying to figure out how they can defeat this man, as the 20-year-old from Ethiopia, Kenenisa Bekele, is the dominant figure on the world cross-country scene, running to a second consecutive double, adding the long course championship to the short course title earlier, a repeat performance of what he achieved last year in Ireland. And as Gebre said, as we see the very high heel action from the rear,
yes, we sure do.
As Gebre said, he might become the most dominant distance runner in the history of the sport.
Well, it's really interesting. He's 20 years of age and missed all last year with an Achilles injury, and then actually missed the Ethiopian cross-country trials this year with what is alleged to be a little touch of typhoid fever. And so for the Grand Prix circuit this year, for the World Championships in Paris, this is the man to watch, to see whether he lights the same fire that he's done in the cross-country circuit in the last 2 years. Absolutely amazing. Perhaps the most exciting new young distance runner to appear in my lifetime.
Bekele looking so comfortable as he runs to yet another championship, and if he decides to compete in the World Championships in Paris, it will be interesting to watch his performance as he tests himself against the best in the world. He glances back, sees that Ivuti is running in second place, waves to the crowd as they applaud his efforts. And it doesn't seem to be much of an effort for this 20-year-old Ethiopian as he runs to the finish line. An unprecedented double last year, and he repeats that performance in Switzerland. Kenenisa Bekele of Ethiopia for the second consecutive year, the World Long Course Cross Country Championship. Patrick Ivuti, a runner-up to Paul Turgat in 1999 and a runner-up position this year, and a former junior champion, Gebremariam of Ethiopia, finishing in third place. And now the battle for the team title as the Kenyans attempt to secure yet another team championship, and it looks as though they're going to do it, as they are going to be 4th, 5th, and 6th, following on the second place performance of Ivuti. It's Richard Limo in 4th position, Paul Koech in 5th place, and John Career finishing in 6th position. The top 4 scores provide the totals for the team competition, and there was no question about who the first man to the finish line was going to be. For almost the entire last lap on this 12,300 meter course, it was Kenenisa Bekele running by himself. It was only a question of what his winning time would be as he glances back to see what's taking place in the race to be second, and it was Ivuti of Kenya, who got up there to finish in second place, just ahead of Gebremariam of Ethiopia. So an outstanding performance once again by this 20-year-old Ethiopian who dominated a year ago in Dublin, Ireland, and is the dominant figure once again here in Lausanne, Switzerland, in the 31st edition of the World Cross Country Championships. He really injected some pace into the final lap. 4:53 clocking. Pretty even pacing throughout the other stages of the race, but that 4:53 time separated himself from the rest of the field, and he had a 13-second advantage over the second-place runner, Ivuti of Kenya. But once again, the team title for the 18th consecutive year goes to Kenya. Simon Beru was the top Canadian, finishing in 52nd place. The times for the Canadians, Canada, in the team competition finished in 15th place, with Kenya for the 18th year in a row winning the overall team title. The women's team title went to Ethiopia as the result of the victory by Worknesh Kadeni. Not far from Lyon, where the